Yeah. Oh. Hey! Hey! Oh! One double, one single, one single. So that's four. And I'm not a drinker, but I feel like I want more now. Yeah. I want some more. Smelly weed, it's so strong. Lord, if you don't like it, get yourself and just move along. Lord, don't make up we smoke it in the wizard sometime and we smoke it in the bong. Hey, come listen me out when me a sing my song. Lord.
Well, I cried when Trump won the election. I was with her in 2016. I'm voting for Kamala Harris to save our democracy. Don't talk about voting third party. Trump won because they voted green. So love me, love me, love me. I'm a liberal. Well, I feel for those children in Gaza, but October 7th was wrong, and violence is never the answer. I wish both sides would just get along. And Kamala's working for ceasefire, even if she's still sending the bombs. So love me, love me, love me. I'm a liberal. It says coexist on my bumper, right next to the flag of Ukraine. I'm much more evolved than a Trumper, but bombing kids is okay. And don't be a one-issue voter when dictatorship is at stake. So love me, love me, love me. I'm a liberal. I get my news from Rachel Maddow, NPR, and the New York Times. I'm gonna vote blue down the ballot, even if they support genocide. This is the most crucial election. We really mean it this time. So love me, love me, love me. I'm a liberal. Vote blue no matter who.
Don't worry, I'm here. I've not gone anywhere. Let me just gather myself. It's been a bit of a mad day. Opinion, bonjour. It's what the siX, so I better get the siX thing out. Better get the old siX thing out, eh? Oh. Here we go. One step at a time. Where's me sting? Where's me washboard? Welcome to What the siX. It's What the X, but it's at 6 on a Wednesday. That's why it's called What the siX. Evening. Saludos a todos. Saludos a todos. The mullets are moving in. They certainly are. Morning. I like that. Morning, you Macapella. How you doing, Matty Ross? King Kong in the house. Who's out here on the X? Oh, you know what? I never started it. See, my bad. Sorry for those on the X. I'll be coming in now. My bad. Right, I'm there now. Anyway, how are we all? We all good? We all jolly good? Everybody been budgeting. The budget happened, didn't it? El Budgetos. Is the world ending, or is it just beginning? I need to remember to push that button. Look, excuse my tardiness. I haven't checked anything today. Maybe you can keep me right on what is or what is not going on. He certainly is. He is live. I'm not sure what would happen if I joined us. What's John White saying? I visited Jedburgh Castle in the Scottish Borders today. Such a fascinating place. It includes an old 19th century jail. Looks just like St Leonard's police station custody suite to me. What was it Robert Jenrick did? I noticed that people were going on about Robert Jenrick. He's still not Raj Tory, isn't he? What did that Raj Tory have to say today? Richard, right? Richard said it's pumpkin carving time. Canadians are incredulous. We used to carve a neep. I'm not into this pumpkin business. I've always been a fan of the neep, and the neep is a much more intimidating wee goblin. Like when you carve a neep properly, it's far more freaky, like, you know. A raged up neep. Hold on, I need to just. I'm bleeding out. The neep is the master of the Old Hallows Eve vibe, isn't it? And it's such a it's like impenetrable. You can't get like a hammer on top of a spoon and all the rest of it. It's absolutely mental, isn't it? It's much more of a challenge, like, you know, to have a neep. I can't be arsed with the whole pumpkin thing. Like the neep is the way forward. Let me know if any of this music or anything's too loud. Gaslighting the public about Southport. No, not good. I had to buy a new window, S-bags and keep. And the keeps will need moved. Can't find a YouTube video on how to do it. I didn't believe you. There's a YouTube video on how to do everything. There's nothing that there isn't a YouTube video for. Neeps are more sinister for sure. The sinister neeps. Neep's nae good for the carving, but you've got to do. That's the whole point. You've got, like, well, it was like part of your primary school vibe, wasn't it? Like carving a neep, like, you know. What's the Southport? What was he gaslighting the public about Southport for? Because they're now saying the Southport killer was an extremist, an Islamic extremist or something. Is that that's the chat? I haven't kept abreast. I haven't kept abreast of the madness of the media madness, really, to be honest. What's in Glasgow too? Oh yeah, this was this. I have said this before, but this should be a hanging offence in the capital. Like, you know, anybody who ever sees anybody doing that, anybody who is witness, they're going to be like university folk. I think it's like, oh yeah, John, put something in. It's like, didn't do that here. Don't. It's bad enough. The Ouijaification of Scotland is bad enough without this happening. Like, we didn't need it. We don't need it, and we don't want it. So enough of this, will you? Keep these Ouija traditions confined to the Ouija. Neep and Stanley knife, Ouija heaven. Kev Spence has joined us. As ever, there's no agenda. Although I've missed Jim O'Painter there. I'll try to catch him. There's a wee bit of controversy in a time for. Is it a time for controversy? What is this? Tom York. Is Tom York a Zionist? Well, let's have a look at this. I saw some chat about people were disappointed in Radiohead on account of Tom York's Zionist stance. Is that right? I don't know. Let's have a look. What's actually been said here?
Coward, come here.
Right
here. Come on. Come up on the fucking stage and say what you want to say. Don't stand there like a coward. Come here and say it.
Get up there and say it then. What is it you said?
You want to piss on everybody's night? Come on.
Get him out.
Okay, you do. See you later. Right here. Come on.
What did he leave? Is that what happened? What's happened? I don't care. Did he leave the concert? The guitarist makes music with the IDF. The guitarist makes music with the Israeli guy who plays shows for the IDF. For fuck's sake. And then yeah, just like that, my QuickTime does it so madness again. Why? Why does it do this? Just bear with me a second. I'm telling you, my QuickTime has got some issue, but it's a bug. It's a bug. That kind of. Right, there we go. Right, anyway. So what happened? Did Tom York come back on stage? Or did he just stay off stage? Try to keep abreast of it. Jeremy Clarkson, why is that on my what is it suggested? I'm not even reading it. I'm not reading anything that Jeremy Clarkson says. Wings, a poignant post about Big Eck, eh? You know, whatever you say, it is a weird time, isn't it? It's a weird time that Salmond is brown breed, and these kind of. That's what I was going to look at. These craven kind of. Not that Salmond was this kind of like. You know, the answer to the answer to all ills. Far from it, but definitely from a different generation of politico, to say the least. John Cusack, I said it before, I've said it before, I'll say it again, but respect to John Cusack, eh? John Cusack really flung himself at the issue and didn't waver and just did the right thing, really. You know, he didn't concern himself with what that impact would be for him on a professional level, I don't think. And respect to him for doing that, quite frankly. So there's this guy who has attempted to get a gig. I liked what Fatis Brickus said about the traffic cone. He says, Kent, at least shove it up the horse's hoop so it's hanging out like a megaphone. Wee bit of originality when they go amiss. Brilliant. I need to find the tweet that I put out because, yeah, right. So this guy Olaf. For years, I've known that this Olaf Stando guy was a Zionist. Mainly because Lloyd Quinnan made a point of letting us know continually on X or Twitter, you know. But he tried to get a gig as a local councillor. He's tried to be an MSP, and he's one of these people that's been parachuted in. And now another thing. Where's that book? That's twice now I've looked for it. Oh man, that's twice. Let me see if I've got it. Where? It's called. So there's this thing called Common Purpose, which is it's kind of a. It's basically a neoliberal political class training regime, and everybody that seems to be in government, either in Scotland or even at a UK level, I bet every one of those new Labour Muppets, they're all part of it, but they're all part of this thing called Common Purpose. It's worth looking into. I want to look into it more. I've been informed about it by a couple of people now, and it seems to be where lobbyable would-be politicians get their schooling, like, you know. And it's not cool. It's quite disturbing. Anyway, this guy Olaf Stando is a writer for the Times of Israel, and he's obviously a total Zionist. And he's been trying for quite some time to get elected either a local or national government level in Scotland, and he's failed. And he's, you know, I've had a pop at him over the years just because he's just been a sort of a parrot for the most irritating people and policy like things to do with the SNP. But John Swinney has now just brought him on as a personal advisor. So why have we got some Zionist guy advising the First Minister? And we've asked this question. We've asked this question a number of times now. How far does the Zionist tentacles reach into the Scottish Parliament? We know that the Labour Party is absolutely awash with the shekel, with the genocide shekel. But how far does that go to the SNP? This is an issue. Now, this is Wrestle-Rig Lochend Community Centre, where the Ripple Project is. The Ripple Project is just one of many charities and organisations that is going to lose its funding as a result of devastating cuts that Edinburgh Council just announced the other day there. And this is an outrageous, a disgusting series of cuts that are going to affect. I realise that for the whole time now I've had Richard Flett's guitarist makes music with the Israeli guy who plays shows for IDF on screen. I'll take that off. keep me on the pulse, folks. Like, you know, is it not going away now? Maybe it's not going away. What about that? Is that working? There we go. So the situation with these cuts that are coming in Edinburgh are outrageous, like totally disgusting. And we'll get onto that in a wee minute. But this Olaf Stando guy advising John Swinney, what's that all about? Would we not be wanting to distance ourselves from Zionists, given the current state of play? Nah. Just flinging that out there. This girl that I played, this Omnia Music, the reason that I played this version of Love Me I'm a Liberal is because I've always been a big fan of the Phil Oakes original, which you might know. If you follow my X account, I've posted it quite a few times over the last year or two. And I thought she did a brilliant job of updating the lyrics for current times. So I wanted to include it on the opening of the show today. Perfect for those bustling bike lanes. Yeah, this is a street. This is Melville Terrace, isn't it? If you go there, you will see these. I don't know what the actual figure was. It's crazy. It's like 10 million quid or something like that. They spent 10 million quid changing putting these cycleways onto the street, and it's just, you know, you're lucky if you see a bike there once a week, you know. The whole city is just a farce. What's happened to this town? The Israeli rampage continues unabated. I shudder to think what they're actually doing in the north of Gaza now. It's extremely disturbing. So Lloyd Quinnan, Scottish Government in-house genocide advisor, will also advise on the communication strategy in the manner of Mark Regev and Itmer Ben-Gvir. I don't actually know who they are. Excuse my ignorance. Maybe somebody else can inform me. But this just shows us the corruption of our polity, quite frankly. And can someone tell me, there seems to be a maddened frenzy as a result of the Southport situation, where this guy has been identified. This guy has been identified as an Islamic extremist or something. So has this therefore now justified? Is that the vibe, that this has somehow justified all the Rajness that occurred? Is that the mentality? I'm not sure I quite subscribe. I'm not sure I quite subscribe to that, if that's the reasoning. Uno momento. Regev was the Israeli... Regev was the Israeli spokesman in the US, was always on CNN. Thanks for that opinion. There we go, okay. Lloyd hasn't been holding back on Twitter, no. And it makes it all the better for being there, quite frankly. We need a time of brave voices, you know. We need a time where people are, you know. I think all bets are off. I think I can't believe. Let's just retweet Catboy. Fuck the budget and the Labour government. They have blood on their hands. Seems reasonable enough. Campbell, people have said it as well, you know. Campbell's the normalisation, if you like, or the presence of Alistair Campbell, it kind of, I think that is the sort of it's almost like the devil incarnate. Perhaps Campbell's normalisation is the sign that we need to know that everything's wrong. Campbell had been normalised and rehabilitated prior to this horror, and it's all for me. It's all connected. You know, whether it's literally connected or not, it feels connected. You know, the idea that Campbell's been given a fresh lease of life is everything that's wrong with everything. Basically, you know, he is the ultimate, you know, despicable human being, and this way that he's been brought back into public life, that's really the indicator for me personally. Okay, let me find Donald Turville. Actually, what's David Jameson saying? I haven't looked at David Jameson. I had a band practice last night with Gutterblood, and we were talking about Andy McVannon. Was talking about the Ukraine situation, and it's making a really good point. You know, that basically the Ukraine narrative that we've all been fed is obviously a load of nonsense. You know, and that the West has clearly been culpable of aggression in that war. I think the issue with Ukraine is outrageous. The level of the amount of death that's occurred in Ukraine is. I mean, where are we? Where are we as a society and a culture? What have we allowed to occur? Or have we allowed it to occur? You know, what is occurring? At what point do we bear some responsibility to this? What was David Jameson saying here? Obvious point. The reason the winter fuel allowance, raising of the bus fare cap and other regressive measures were announced pre-budget was to try and stop them defining the budget. But they do fairly define it, yeah. I wanted to go to Donald Turville's article because let's go to the hyper-local aspect of Donald Turville. So basically, Edinburgh City Council. Edinburgh City Council have proposed 4.5 million cuts to 64 health and social care charities, which is basically outrageous. You know, it's an absolute outrage. And due to this, they just announced this the other day, and to try and highlight what's going on here, I took it upon myself. There's an extra button here. I've got a button to my left here that I've been looking forward to pressing for the last wee while with the right opportunity, with the right circumstances. And I kind of jumped the gun a bit on that because of these social care cuts. And this is the button. Hold on a wee second, I'm a wee bit confuddled here. This is the button. If I push this button, it takes us here, which is a magical realm with an empty kind of an empty mastermind seat there. But that is the seat that allows me to bring other humans into the What the X experience. Something that we'll be doing a lot more of. But because of these cuts, I decided to speak to Katrina Grant, who is often a regular attendee on What the X, to discuss these cuts and to discuss what's been going on with the with the council cuts that have just come in. So I'm actually just going to skip to that little chat that I had with her. She literally just went away just before I started. She just came in very quickly, and I tried to have a brief discussion with her about it. So I'm going to just play that discussion with Katrina now, and I'll join you at the end of that. I think it runs for about 20 minutes or something. You'll need to forgive my lack of Parkinson interview skills here. It really was just an ad hoc Katrina nip in and just tell me what's going on here. So let's do that now. Let's go and watch what Katrina was saying about this and inform ourselves a little more as to the outrage that Edinburgh Council have meted against the citizens of the town again. We find ourselves joined by our very first What the X illustrious guest. And with me this evening, I have the fabulous Katrina Grant.
Oh, hiya, Bob. Here we are.
Brilliant. Right, listen, Katrina, first of all, thanks for jumping in here at such short notice. I had hoped to do this live so that our regular What the X attendees could have fired some questions directly at you.
I'm sorry I couldn't do that, but I did swing by on my way to my next thing, so...
What's next?
Oh, I'm going out with my tea.
Right, well, I won't keep you too long, but the reason that I wanted to talk to you today was because there was it's a kind of emergency, an emergency What the X cast here, X-cast, and it's basically in light of the cuts that the council have announced. I think they announced them on Friday evening. Was that right?
I think so. And then the document has come out recently. So yeah, it's quite brutal.
The last bit of business at the end of the day was they announced about £5 million worth of cuts that are about to come in.
Yep.
So I'm just going to read the article that Donald Turville wrote, and then you can maybe elaborate a little bit on what you know about this. Right. So Donald Turville published this. He might have published this today, actually, and it's Edinburgh cuts to support of vulnerable people, why they're happening, and what they'll mean. The Edinburgh Integration Joint Board, EGIB, which oversees the city's health and social care services, is set to slash £4.5 million of grants, currently shared between 64 organisations. The funding supports organisations carrying out preventative and early intervention work with vulnerable residents, including dementia sufferers, disabled young people, rape victims, those on low incomes, and new parents. The grant funding was expected to continue until at least March next year, with the possibility of a further extension. However, health and social care chiefs are proposing to bring this forward to the end of January in a bid to reduce a significant financial deficit, giving charities just 90 days to find alternative funding and threatening the future viability of many projects. Charities set to have their grant cut have said the decision would cost city authorities more in the long term and risk axing the only support accessed by some of the cities most in need. One compared it to a sinking ship deciding it needs to be lighter and cutting its life rafts, adding they felt devalued by the proposals. Outgoing EIJB Chief Officer Pat Toffer said in a report the organisation, a partnership between Edinburgh Council and NHS Lothian, was at risk of being unable to meet its fundamental responsibilities. In March, a budget gap of £60 million was reported, and despite achieving substantial savings since then, significant shortfalls remain. And with a further £50 million in cuts needed to balance the books in 2025-26, Mr Toffer said the gaps will not be closed through efficiency savings or improved grip on control alone, and cash currently invested in the grants programme would be better spent in other priorities. I just wanted to scan down to the Ripple, which was at Loch End. There was Portobello Monday Centre was one of the other ones that had reported saying that their group activities such as singing and a hot lunch and the opportunity for members to, so I think a lot of members got dementia, that would be immediately under threat. And Rachel Green, director of the Ripple Project, which works to tackle poverty and inequality in Wrestlebrook, Lochend and Craigentinney, told the LDRS that we heard we were going to get an extension for the year, which would give us 15 months to try and plug this. She said, well, the charity's annual funding from the EJB was £87,000. The cut would lead to a disinvestment in the area of £500,000, as the grant enables me and other people to lever in other funds.
Yep.
Right, there's various articles that have appeared about this. Give me your assessment of what's actually happened here with these cuts that are being brought in.
This is dystopian. This is absolutely mental. So what this means is people are talking about early intervention and prevention and vulnerable people. This is the funding that gets to communities. This is your community centres. This is the projects where your grandma might go to a lunch club, where young people who have children get to meet other people, you know, the mum and toddlers groups. This is if I use some of these services, so if you need to apply for benefits, and some of the benefit system's quite complicated, you need somebody who's specialist and can give you good advice. All community projects funded through health and social care is going to be disinvested. And the reason why they've given 90 days is so that the community groups can basically give out redundancy notices. That's legal. So I'm sure if they could have done it within 30 days, they would have, but by legally they have to in their contracts 90 days. So they can give out mass redundancy notices without them taking responsibility for that. If you read the paper, the document, there's something in there that says, we support early intervention prevention, but we're going to disinvest from it, but we still support the values of early intervention prevention. But let's be clear, what's actually been suggested here is disinvesting into the community, closing all those projects down, and some of them will continue because they'll be grant funded from other trusts and other grant making bodies and things like that. So it won't be completely closed down all at once, but there'll be massive cuts, you call them savings, disinvestment. But what will happen is maybe somebody who's got dementia might not be getting out the house, so that they might become more and more vulnerable in their house, and then they will need statutory intervention, and then basically the state, the local authority, will then intervene. So what they're suggesting is we will provide, if it's critical or substantial, i.e. you can get state intervention, but we won't do anything to stop the state getting involved in your life. So that, for me, is as dystopian as it gets. The Tories have never put this forward before. This comes under a label, Labour administration. And if you look at the document again, they have like false numbers, like everything that the local authority, the partnership does seems to save them money, but what happens in the community doesn't have any value at all. So the economics, if an economist was to look at this, they would ask questions about it. And this is devastating. So it also means if there's a cut from the council, it means there won't be the workforce or the workers to be able to apply to the other agencies to get the money in. But there's a big problem if we only rely in the communities on trusts and philanthropists and all that to fund. It means there's no democratic control. I would argue there isn't anyway, but there's no democracy involved. So it just means whatever a grant funder or a philanthropist wants to support, they get to do that. And there's no connection back to the community or the local authority. So just now, we could lobby, like we've done with People's Story, unsuccessfully so far, we could go to the council, you cut this isn't fair. But now, the council, that gets removed if they remove all this funding. So there's nobody to lobby, there's nobody to deputise to. And it means, well, you're failing as a community because you can't bring in the resources from somewhere else, and I don't know how communities can do that. So I think this is the most dystopian document I have ever ever read, and I've been a social worker for 30 years, and I worked in local authority and wrote policies and things like that, and I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Yeah, I'm glad you just clarified actually who you are there, because
Yeah, I'm not just a random, well, I'm a bit random, but no, I speak with authority on this.
Absolutely. In my enthusiasm to talk with you at short notice, I had forgotten to actually ask you to tell us who you were. But no, you've got a lot of skin in this game. You've got a lot of knowledge of how it goes on and how things have evolved over the years. Who actually was responsible for creating the report?
It's seemingly from the chief executive, whose name I can't remember. I think you said his name. He came from Glasgow, and he's only been here 10 months, and he's skipping off again, and he's just put off a big bomb. Whether it was him that wrote that, I don't know, but he's just let off a massive bomb in the council, in the partnership between health and social care, and just is leaving us. So, make of that what you will.
Why do you think that it's that we've got to this stage where something as devastating like this can just be unrolled without much challenge, or where you expect that they don't really expect to face much challenge from it?
No, they don't. They expect a lobby outside the city chambers like we're going to have on Friday, and expect all that. They expect the evening news to say something. They expect there to be a couple of outraged councillors and a few really upset MSPs. But they know there won't be a great pushback. People will be upset by it, but who's going to organise people to fight back against cuts like this? This is devastating. But it's also within the politics of the area. What has happened just now in Edinburgh, it is a case of, fur coat and knickers. We are going to have psychopaths that'll take you nowhere. We're going to have lovely wide boulevards. They have said they're not going to put trees in George Street. So they're going to completely change the public realm of Edinburgh without any say from the citizens of Edinburgh, and then devastate the local communities. So it comes from, they have an ideology, they have a political plan for Edinburgh, and be clear about it, Bob, we're not part of that plan.
No, definitely not. We're not part of it. There is a sense, though, that I feel that the city itself is ill-informed on these matters. And I think that they like it like that. I think they're perfectly aware that when they attack, especially our poorest communities in this form, there's a sense of, there's nowhere for that frustration and anger to be coalesced and focused, because, aside from the good local reporter that we have, Donald Turville, and a few other people here and there, we really have a dearth of actual communication throughout the city in terms of what's actually occurring.
I mean, we don't have, you make this point, we don't have, media in Edinburgh. We don't have anything, we don't even have local papers, we don't even have the Herald and Post anymore, do you know what I mean? Or the West Wales Sentinel, or all those type of papers, they don't exist anymore. And moving to having 3 councillors in a bigger ward means, that's almost become a political game for the political parties. So, you don't have your local councillor living up the street for you and all the rest of it. So there's been a disfranchisement in this city. It's been going on for an awfully long time, but I think it's actually coming to a peak. The problem is, what happens if this is just base camp of Mount Everest? There might be more to come, do you know what I mean? And I think unless there is radical pushback against this, there will be more to come.
Why do you think it's become so focused that it's these communities that are first for the chop in these situations? It seems to be a consistent type of policy making that now seems to be occurring within Edinburgh. And like you say, the vulgarity of seeing these grotesquely expensive infrastructure projects that are evidently underused, they're not being used, they often run into huge overspends. They would argue probably that those budgets come from different places, but it doesn't really matter, does it, at the end of the day? This
nonsense.
idea. Yeah.
Imagine decorating your house with really, really expensive wallpaper, but you have to switch the light off and can't feed your parents. I mean, what are they thinking? There seems to be, it's almost like we're going to end up in the Hunger Games, hopefully without the Hunger Games, but where we'll be in Section 12 and they'll be in Pan Am. It's I know it's about different budgets, but why can't we challenge that? Why can't we say, we don't want that to happen, we want this to happen? Why is it allowed to have these psychopaths everywhere? I cycle, well, not much now, but I used to cycle all the time, to be honest. But is cyclepaths really as important as providing services to people who've got dementia or people in lock ends? What's that about?
There's certain eco-zealots in the town, especially those that are prevalent online. They would probably argue that they are more important. I mean, they're desperately keen for everybody to get out and walk and cycle more. But they're keen also to devastate. You know, if you look at Loch End, for example, which is the community centre there, I think where the Ripple project is. Loch End is a clearly disinvested area. The housing there, the housing stock is what I would consider to be in a state of managed decline. They're clearly got their eye on that to redevelop the whole area. They'll turf out whoever's left in council houses. I don't know whether they would put mandatory purchase orders on other houses, those that have been privately bought. But a lot of them won't be privately bought there. A lot of them will still be council houses. And I know that Live and Rent had done some campaigns there to raise some of the standard of investment in the council there. But there's a clear policy on the part of Paul Lawrence and the council to completely ignore and ostracise further these communities that are on the fringes.
It's an agenda.
It's an agenda, but
it's not talked about. But it's agenda. We can see it.
It's in plain sight. It's in plain sight now. I think there's something that, you use the term dystopian. I think it is the right term to use. I've been in the Loch End Community Centre a few times recently. I've seen it. I've actually went in and there's a really nice vibe when you go in, and there's a good community vibe there. And but it's not somewhere that's rolling in cash. That's obvious, you know.
No.
And you can tell from the people that are in there that it is really one of the last remaining places where people there is that sense of community in the places that the locals are able to go to. Why do you think there's such a contempt and an attack on these people? Is this genuinely? Is this it's fundamental? Would you say that class prejudice is just right there at the heart of this on some level, or is it less kind of ideological in that sense? You think it's just about?
Well,
these people just don't.
Always exists.
Of course, it exists. So, but I mean, do you think that the decision making here comes from a place of actual genuine contempt, or just complete ignorance as to what actually occurs in these areas?
A bit from column A and a bit from column B. I think it's hard to see that the people who make these plans don't hate us. I'm sorry. It's like, they don't just hate you, Bob. Do you know what I mean? They
Who
hate
could
us.
possibly hate me?
Oh, well, they hate us. And when I mean us, they hate the people. And, I saw that really starkly years ago. I was involved in a campaign, Save Our Old Town, and we failed. And, that saw the demolition of council housing. It saw the shutting down of the art project for homeless people. It saw the removal of the Bongo Club and Out of the Blue and all the rest of it. Mike's Roll Shop. Part of everything that got attacked in the Colton Gate project was, I would say, we come from a community or a working class route. Everything went. And then they built it. And if they built it, they put in a Park Hotel, and then they closed down the Canongate venture, and that became Brewdog Hotel. And now they've got a Pend. I don't know even why we needed a Pend, but we did need a Pend. And that was actually, council housing that they knocked down to take you to a square that takes you to the HMRC building. What they put in place of all that. Now, that did need some gentle loving care. It absolutely did. But what they did, they ponced themselves out to developers and to investors, and they get to decide, the developers and investors, they get to decide what happens, and that's exactly what happened. So now that's a really, it's not part, it doesn't feel part of our historic roots at all. There was nothing put in place. The wee cranny in Cranstonshire, wee community centre, they got that, but only because, remember, St Anne's Community Centre was closed down, which was publicly owned, Council One. We've just seen South Bridge getting closed down, given over for £1 to the Fringe Society, and the community centre in Dummy-Diggs given at the university to the Charters. So it's all part of a plan. Now, at the time when I lived there, at that time I was just thinking my neighbourhood, my heritage, blah, blah, blah. But I actually think Save Our Old Town campaign was a canary in a cage,
Yeah,
and we died, and from that that showed this. Even when communities fight back, we will get what we want. And you have now seen what's happened in the city centre, in the old town of Edinburgh. The whole public realm is fixed, and every last bit of community is being closed down.
Is there not something to be said, though, that if we were actually to have some more effective way of polling residents of the city, and even those that participate in our kind of bankrupt and corrupted democratic process, I would take a guess that the vast majority of Edinburgh residents would not subscribe to the changes that have taken place in the city, nor would they be happy with the idea that the council were making these cuts. No. There seems to be a reliance on the apathy between the electorate and what goes on at a policy level. There's an arrogance, if you like. There's a complete supreme arrogance that seems to exist there, where just within the national political class, the same with the local government. I really don't think that if we were able to get a sense of what actual residents wanted and desired, that they would agree with what the council are doing. I don't think people in Edinburgh, even those who vote, whatever the party affiliation may or may not have traditionally been, I don't believe that they would be happy to see this level of attack upon essentially, like this article states, the most vulnerable in our communities.
I don't think people of Edinburgh would, but they need to join the dots. They need to actually see when they do that, that means this. And, let's, perhaps a campaign to fight back will come. But they're talking about closing some of these projects down within 90 days. I'm going on Facebook and Twitter, and all these charities are saying, sorry, we're going to close down now. Sorry, we're going to close down. It's
a total outrage. It is. It's an absolute outrage. There's no two ways about it. And do you feel that? Do you feel a sense of hopelessness about this, or do you think that there is anything that they can do about it?
It's not the hope, isn't it? It's the despair that gets you. I'm always optimistic, and I've been waiting. I'm always up for a fight back. But I think actually what you've seen over the years is activism has turned itself into almost the internet, click activism, clickbait stuff, like I'll sign a petition. And, I don't know about you, but I don't ever go to any political meetings.
No.
I'll maybe blether at you if I see you in the street or something like that. And I talk to my pals going, this is terrible and all that. But, I don't do any... I used to in the past, but I don't now. And I don't think that's that unusual. And so I think it is about consciousness. I think it's been done on purpose, but we just didn't see it coming, if that makes sense. So the challenge is to the people of Edinburgh, is this what you want your city to look like? To have wide, beautiful streets, with budgets that'll go over budget, but there will be no community resources. You won't have a people centre, you won't have a community centre. There'll be nothing for dementia, for people who've got dementia. There'll be nothing for young parents. No community. What is it you're wanting?
But at the same time, though, they'll find £50 million to terraform George Street and make it look like everywhere else.
It's horrible what they want to do to George Street. Like, who cares? Why does George Street need done up? I don't even know why it needs done up. It's not like you go walk along George Street and you go, oh no, look at George Street.
no,
Nobody's ever done that.
No, absolutely. This is this crackpot Paul Lawrence and co who are determined to do these who have already responsible for so much vandalism in the city. Tell me, Friday morning there was a protest. Is that right? Can you tell me a bit about that?
There seems to be a protest that's popped up spontaneously. 9 o'clock at the city chambers, lots of community groups and charities and third sector are asking people to go along, and I think people will go along to that.
Yeah, I think I'll try and...
Please come.
I've got a What the X on Friday morning, but I'll try and pop along at 9 first. Are you going to be there?
I'm going to be there at 9, but I've got another meeting I've got to go to, but I'll be there for even 15 minutes to show my face, and I think if everybody could show their face 5, 10, 15 minutes, that helps.
Right, well that's what we want to do. We want to get as many people as possible to turn up at City Chambers on Friday morning just to show their solidarity. If they weren't aware of it, or let people know about it, because I think this is the first of many attacks, though, that we're going to see. I don't think that this is the last that we're going to see. That this level of contempt being expressed towards our communities. I know the the Craig and Tinney, the Craig Miller group as well, that they were they were expressing how devastating it's going to be. But it's the same all round, and it fundamentally, when I've looked at it and seen what it is, the word that springs to mind to me is it's just cruel. It seems like a very cruel attack,
callous,
and especially when we're looking at how altered the city has been with these very elaborate and lavish infrastructure projects that, you know, they don't do anything for if anything, they just wreck what the integrity of how the town was in the past, which is in itself questionable, you know. I think they're going to look back at this period and shake their heads like almost like the sort of beaching cuts kind of level of like destruction of an existing way of life and a way that things were. I think that what's being done to Edinburgh over this period, especially over this last decade, is outrageous. It's completely outrageous. And this is an attack on our communities. Katrina, thank you so much.
Thanks,
for
Bob,
joining me.
Asking me to come in. I've got to go soon, but thanks.
My
for
intention of having guests was going to be a little bit more considered and organised, but I think just under the circumstances, I wanted to just try and get a wee chat about this because it really is a major issue for the town, and we're trying our best to get the message out there via what the X and what have you. Right, doll.
No bother.
Catch you soon. Cheers, Katrina.
All right then. See you later, Bob. Bye.
Cheers. And there we go. Right.
What time is it?
Right, doll. Okay, I'm back. Nice one. That was great from Kat. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's brilliant from Kat. It really was a rushed. We had zero preparation time there, so the first What the X interview was as mad as it would be. But yeah, really important points. If you can get along on Friday morning to the city chambers and join the groups that are going to be protesting there, I would definitely encourage anybody that's watching that's able to do that. Please come along. The city council has nothing but contempt for the residents, and they need to start realising that people in the town are not happy with what's going on. I think traditionally that this requires greater reflection and discussion, to be honest. But I think Edinburgh, we've never really been the town of Tommy Sheridan, leading the poll tax revolt and everything. We've never really been that town. We've never really had, although Katrina makes a point about how they had the Save the Old Town campaign, and but now what's being done to the city, and these cuts are outrageous. This is just totally disgusting, and I don't think anybody in the city who votes for their local councillor or votes for the councillors would be expecting that these things would be allowed to happen. So we need to have a wider discussion about this. I just wanted to try and get a wee bit of information out there between now and Friday morning when that protest is going out. So I took the opportunity to do that with Katrina. And I was delighted that she was able to jump in and have a chat with us. Pro streamer now. We'll try, I'll make sure our next guest is a little bit more time for preparation. Beachings was massive cuts to the railway system. Yeah, Beachings was devastating cuts to the. It's gone down in history as a kind of travesty. And it cut off many little. It killed towns and villages. It absolutely destroyed. It destroyed communities, and all these wee lovely little railway stations and stuff. But it's a bit like that in the town. There's so many examples of what's gone wrong in Edinburgh. But now you see that we have our mastermind chair there ready for artists and guests to come and talk about what's required to talk about. So we'll look forward to. Getting some interesting people to chat with, and certainly as we run up to this by-election, I'll be trying to speak to people who are both candidates and those with strong opinions about what's happening to the city as well over this coming period. We're nearly at time, people. It was an interesting What the siX this evening. It was all a bit cobbled together, but I think we got there in the end. thanks so much for those of you who have joined us. I think there was a pretty reasonable amount across both platforms this evening. Sitting here with my 86-year-old ma, and she's nodding along with full agreement. No getting this on STV. Thank you very much, Rick. I appreciate that. Nice to see some new names pop up in the respective chats. I'm going to leave with probably my favourite band in Scotland at the minute, which is Doss, and this is King of the Castle, and I'll see you all on Friday morning for another What the X. Take it easy, folks. Catch you then.
This just in, live, Doss officially the best band in the world. They've managed to hit chart #1 in all the charts in all the countries and have sold out every gig that they've played. It's unbelievable, it's sensational, and you heard it here first at the news. You'll hear them soon, whether or not you want to. Safe to say, they're the kings of this castle.
Talking it out, nose up the arse, till the hang turns brown. I look about and I see what they're up to. Is that someone I can get a step up for? Watch this space, keep your eyes peeled. We're the mule, do. We're the best hang since sliced bread. Get that in your thick fucking head. Look at me, a bronze Adonis, a picture of health if I'm truly muscles, tattoos, and the cream of the crop. The tip of the iceberg, the cherry on top. It's me, myself, and I. See me, I'm the king of the castle, and you're just a tiny rascal. It's me, myself, and I. See me, I'm the king of the castle, and you're just a tiny rascal. 'Cause I'm doing it for you. I'm making all your dreams come true. Well, not so different, you and I. I put my trousers on my leg at a time too. This is it just for me, we worship every day. Get on your lonely knees and start to pray. I know who I am, and I know what I'm not. I am the clothes on my back and everything that I've got. It's me, myself, and I. Taking yourself so serious, you surely can't be serious. Clad in leather from head to toe, always tell and always show. This is me, this is my shrine. From my arse the sun does shine. This is me, this is my shrine. From my arse the sun does shine. This is me, this is my shrine. From my arse the sun does shine. This is me, this is my shrine. From my arse the sun does shine. It's me,
What the fuck have you done to my room? You've got your fucking back. Look at this fucking say it. Fuck's sake, calm down. Man, look at the mess you made. I can't say that. Well, we thought it was funny.
I think it's one of these out now.
No, it was funny. Yeah, it wasn't funny.